I begin with the name of Allah, who is most kind, who is most merciful. Charles Doolittle presented a hypothesis, what we called as artifact hypothesis. Artifact hypothesis is nothing but only elongation of Darwinian thoughts. Darwin at that time wrote a statement in his book on the origin of species that to keep his theory, to keep his whole life work alive, that because there is insufficient data of the fossils, so I couldn't answer any satisfactory answer about the absence of the simpler form of the complex Cambrian invertebrates. But with the passage of time, when paleontologists do enough work and dig out a lot of fossils, then these simple forms will definitely be recovered from the rocks, Cambrian rocks, and also from pre-Cambrian strata. So before I go into the details of artifact hypothesis of Walcott, for my viewers who are very much attracted by this series of creation or evolution, to make them very clear how much this explosion is, how much big bang of life this Cambrian explosion is, I'm going to shrink the history of life, not the history of Earth, history of life. 3,800 million years in one day only, 24 hours. So let's start from 1 o'clock. After the passage of first 6 hours, means at 6 o'clock there is nothing but only single cell bacteria. Then again after the passage of another 6 hours, there is nothing but only very simple life in the form of sponges. Then again with the passage of another 6 hours, mean at 8 o'clock, life is again very simple in the form of sponges, in the form of eddy acrophornas. Then just at the start of 21st hour, there is a big boom. There is emergence of 20 different animal body plans out of today existing 36 body plans. And this whole event, this whole emergence of 20 phyla, it took only 2 minutes out of 24 hours. Now you can use, it is very easy for you to imagine why this is very important event, why this is a big explosion. Now folks, another very important point here, the total duration of the Cambrian period, it is 5 to 6 millions of years. Very big time. There is no doubt about that. But this very big time, this is a great time in comparison to the history of human. But when talking biologically, this is only a blink of eye, or even lesser than blink of eye. How? There exists a mathematical branch of biology, what we call as population genetics. You can check it from internet. And in population genetics, there exists a terminology. There is present a terminology, what we call as waiting time. In waiting time, mathematicians of biology, they give specific time to a specific mutation to flourish, to show its progression. So these scientists, these mathematicians, they say just to get only 4 to 5 coordinated mutations, useful mutations, they require millions of years, rather than making a complex, fully formed animal like that are present in the Cambrian rocks in the form of trilobites, Namalocaris, fully formed different invertebrates of the Cambrian rocks. Coming back towards the main topic of today's episode, artifact hypothesis, it is going to have two parts. Number one part is actually the elongation of Darwinian thoughts, that this is very insufficient data of fossils, and with the passage of time lot of fossils will be discovered from the rocks, and definitely the simpler forms of the Cambrian animals, they will be found. This is the first part of the artifact hypothesis that was presented by Walcott, and the second part states that the obvious difficulty is that the simpler forms of the Cambrian invertebrates, these were too small, too soft to be fossilized. They couldn't fossilize because they were very soft, they were very small. So now coming towards the first part of the artifact hypothesis, that is the fossil data is still very insufficient. Though this statement was stated I think during 1920s, 1930s, and again almost 100 years has been passed after the making of this hypothesis. So coming towards the explanation of first part, now in the recent past there has been made very tremendous discovery of Cambrian fossils in southern China, Yunnan province, and the site is Zhenjiang, and the fossils, they are named with the site from where they are discovered, Zhenjiang fossils, and this is 1983. These discoveries are made in 1983, and to extreme amazement, these fossils, they are more older than from the fossils of Burgess Shale. These are anatomically more complex than that from Burgess Shale, and these are more exclusively preserved than from the fossils of the Burgess Shale. Then after that, lot of oil searching and gas searching companies, they worked into the seas, offshore working. They did samples from different eons of the history of life in search of oil. Their main purpose was the searching of the oil and the searching of natural gases. Whenever they did the core drilling from the heading, they found no life in this eon, in this strata of rocks. Then from Archean, a slightly upper strata, rock strata, they found very simple single-celled bacteria. Then coming slightly more upward in upper layers of the rocks, I mean from Proterozoic layers, they found very simple life, sponges and some ediacaran faunas and some blue-green algae. Then whenever they got samples through core drilling, they found life is very complex and absolutely changed, sudden change, and discretely fully formed fossils of complex invertebrate. They are found everywhere where these excavations has done over the globe. Whether these excavations, whether these offshore core drilling carried out in Canada, whether in Europe, whether in America, whether in France, whether in Middle East, and whether in Australia, there is same pattern of the life present in Precambrian period and present in Cambrian rocks. So after this, because almost 100 years has been passed after this artifact hypothesis, any reasonable person can say that there is insufficient data, there is insufficient collection of the fossils, because now millions of fossils has been discovered from Precambrian layers and from Cambrian layers. Now coming towards the second portion of this artifact hypothesis, which state that the simpler forms of the Cambrian invertebrates, they were very simple, not to be fossilized. So very extraordinary discovery made by a Chinese paleontologist, Dr. J.Y. Chen. I say this discovery is made by the nature itself, made by the creator itself. What did Dr. Chen? He gone at the site of Chenjiang fossils. He collected some rocks, broke them in small pieces, and what he saw there are present very microscopic embryos with the size ranging from 500 micron to 800 microns maximum. He isolated these embryos from the rocks with some special technique using some acids, and then he examined these embryos under the electron microscope. What he saw there, he break these embryos and go deep into this embryo to analyze the cellular structure to get some detailed information. He states that when I broke and analyzed these embryos, I found that these are the embryos of sponges.
Since 1999, Paul Chien has studied fossil embryos and helped develop techniques to analyze their structure.
By treating with acid, you can actually remove the rock and isolate the embryos, and then you get round pebble-like or sand grain-like samples. And then we look through some tiny little ones, larger ones up to 1 millimeter in size. And we found about the range between 500 and 800 micrometers. We have mostly sponge. And then I start breaking up these balls and try to start looking inside. And with the help of the electron microscope, I was able to see the detailed subcell structure within these embryos.
So this is again very extraordinary discovery, and here the second part of the artifact hypothesis again got deep buried into the soil. Now I will want to clarify one thing for my views. In these first 4 episodes, I talked about macro level of evolution, the level that was very evident to Charles Darwin, the level that was evident to Doolittle, Walcott, and to all the paleontologists of all time. Now in my incoming episodes, these episodes may be 3 or 4, I will talk on micro level of evolution. I will talk about the cell organelles, I will talk about the DNA, I will talk about the theories who remained successful to won Nobel Prizes, and you will be shocked. The atheist will be shocked, and the theist person will be very happy with the news that these are extremely in contrast to the theory of evolution. So in the last, I will like to share the literature I consulted to get this information about about evolution. So first I read the work of I will say a very great philosopher of biology, Dr. Stephen Meyer, and he wrote very tremendous book, Darwin's Doubt. And then there is another book with the name of Darwin's Black Box, and its author name is Michael Behe. Then another book, Evolution Still a Theory in Crisis, written by Michael Denton. Then Darwin on Trial, and writer is Phillips Johnson. Then there is another book, Icons of the Evolution, and its author name is Jonathan Wells. Then I also gave a slight touch to the work of a microbiologist, Scott Minich, and then a philosopher of biology, Paul Nelson. So viewers, we meet I think very soon with micro level of evolution. So it's all about for the micro level, and for this fourth episode of creation and evolution. So I'm again very thankful for your precious time, and I hope we will meet soon with micro level study of evolution. So it's Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.